Hello, dear listeners, and welcome to today's episode of Literary Reflections. Today we journey into one of the most unforgettable love stories in modern Iranian literature, Bamdad-e Khomar, The Morning After. Though it has often been labeled a love story, it would be far more accurate to call it a story about the storm of youth, about passion that blinds, about the clash between desire and tradition, about class, regret, and the irrevocable weight of a single choice. It is a story that unfolds slowly, with the sincerity of a personal confession and the gravity of a life lived between longing and consequence. At the center of this story stands Mahbubeh, a young woman born into privilege. Her childhood passed in a home filled with warmth, refinement, and the unspoken certainties that come with social standing. Her parents belonged to a class that valued propriety, appearances, and dignity, values they had every intention of passing on to their daughter. From her earliest days, she learned how to speak softly, how to walk with poise, how to behave at social gatherings, how to maintain the dignity expected of a young woman from a respected family. Yet beneath her polished manners, something restless lived within her. She longed for life in a way that could not be satisfied by polite conversation or well-planned futures. She felt a hunger for authenticity, for something raw and vivid, something more than what was prescribed for her. She wanted to feel the world directly, not merely move through it gracefully. And like many young people who grow up sheltered from hardship, she mistook the unfamiliar for the profound and the exciting for the meaningful. Her parents had already envisioned her future: a comfortable marriage to a suitable man, a life of stability and mutual respect, and a continuation of the family's social standing. Among the men they approved of was her cousin Mansour, a thoughtful, educated, gentle young man who had loved her quietly and steadily for years. He came from their world, understood their customs, and had proven himself patient and kind. For the family, he was the ideal choice. But Mahbubeh did not see him. In fact, she could not. Her heart was already wandering elsewhere, drawn toward a life that glittered not with refinement, but with unfamiliar excitement. That excitement took shape in the form of Rahim, a carpenter's apprentice. His world stood in sharp contrast to hers, a workshop filled with the earthy smell of wood, the rhythm of tools striking timber, sawdust scattered across the floor. He belonged to a class untouched by social rituals and expectations. To the outside world, he was ordinary, simple in background, modest in means, and bound to a future of hard labor. Yet to Mahbubeh, Rahim was everything she felt she had been missing. Perhaps it was precisely his simplicity that enchanted her. Perhaps it was the rawness of a life unpolished by etiquette. Or perhaps she projected onto him all the unspoken desires she carried for freedom and rebellion. Whatever the reason, her heart attached to Rahim with a speed and intensity that left no room for hesitation or reflection. Their early interactions were brief and seemingly insignificant: a glance exchanged over a piece of furniture, a polite comment, a fleeting smile. But for Mahbubeh, each moment felt charged with emotion, as if every word were a secret message and every glance a promise. She began to find reasons to visit the workshop, to extend conversations, to seek moments that might otherwise have never happened. What to an outsider would have appeared trivial became for her the center of her emotional universe. Her parents noticed. They sensed the spark in her eyes, the changes in her behavior, the subtle hints of joy she tried and failed to hide. Gently they warned her. They explained the social differences, the challenges such a marriage would bring, the ways in which passion can fade under the pressure of reality. But Mahbubeh's heart was already committed, and youthful certainty has a way of dismissing all caution. The family attempted to redirect her. They encouraged suitable suitors, reminded her of her place in society, and even appealed to her sense of reason. But none of it mattered. The more they resisted, the more determined she became. In her mind, she was fighting not just for love, but for freedom, for the right to choose her own life. As a last resort, her mother turned to her sister for help. Rather than scolding or threatening, she suggested something gentler: a story. She believed that life's lessons, when wrapped in personal experience, may reach the heart more deeply than any lecture. And so Mahbubeh began to tell the story of the life she eventually lived, a life shaped profoundly by her choice to marry Rahim. Driven by emotion, she married him despite her family's disapproval. The family helped by providing a modest home and a small workshop, but they withheld their blessing. They did not cut her off, but they stepped back, silently communicating their disappointment. Mahbubeh believed, with all the conviction of youth, that love alone could overcome these challenges. She thought passion would sustain them, that the intensity of her feelings would bridge every social gap and soothe every hardship. At first, marriage did feel like a dream. The thrill of being with Rahim, the novelty of building a home, the sweetness of newfound intimacy, all of it filled her with hope. She imagined a future shaped entirely by love, unburdened by class, money, or expectation. But as the early glow faded, reality began to seep through the cracks. Rahim's temperament revealed sides she had not seen before. His frustrations surfaced quickly, his patience wore thin, and his moods shifted without warning. The financial strain of their new life added pressure, and Mahbubeh, who had never known true hardship, felt the weight of deprivation for the first time. Simple disagreements turned into arguments. Misunderstandings grew difficult to untangle. She began to see that love, while powerful, does not magically transform a person's character or eliminate the challenges of daily life. Things worsened when Rahim's mother moved in with them. She was domineering, sharp-tongued, and openly resentful. To her, Mahbubeh was a spoiled girl from an upper-class family, a girl who did not know how to work, who had been handed a comfortable life, who had no place in their modest home. She made sure Mahbubeh felt unwelcome every single day. Criticism became constant. Hostility seeped into every interaction. The house that was supposed to be a refuge became suffocating. Amid this hardship, a baby boy was born. For a brief period, Mahbubeh's world brightened. She believed motherhood might bring purpose, that perhaps this child could help mend the fractures in her home. She imagined nurturing him, watching him grow, and finding joy again through his presence. But life was unkind. Through a tragic accident caused by a moment of negligence, the child drowned. The grief that followed was more than she had ever known. It hollowed her, shook her marriage, and amplified every unresolved pain within the household. Soon after, she suffered a miscarriage that left her unable to have more children. With these losses, the dreams she once held so tightly dissolved. Years passed, heavy with sorrow, conflict, and loneliness. Slowly, painfully, Mahbubeh recognized the full magnitude of her choices. She saw that passion alone cannot sustain a life. She realized that ignoring the social realities she had been raised with did not make them disappear. She learned through firsthand suffering that love cannot erase differences in background, values, or temperament. Nor can it shield a person from the consequences of choices made without reflection. Ultimately, she made the difficult decision to leave Rahim and return to her father's home. There, surrounded once again by stability and understanding, she began to rebuild herself. Time softened the wounds. Eventually, she remarried, this time choosing Mansour, the man who had once loved her quietly and without demand. His gentle presence brought a degree of comfort. Yet even in this calmer life, she carried the scars of her past, the memory of her lost child, the years of hardship, and the irreversible lesson that choices made in the heat of youthful passion can shape a lifetime. Her story thus becomes not merely a personal confession, but a cautionary tale, one about the delicate balance between emotion and reason, between desire and responsibility. The title, The Morning After, serves as a metaphor. The morning that follows the intoxicating night of passion, the clarity that follows desire, the reckoning that comes when the heart's fire cools and the light of reality appears. Mahbubeh's journey invites us to reflect on the nature of love. It asks, how much should we allow our hearts to dictate our future? How much must we weigh the responsibilities that come with our choices? Where is the line between following one's heart and ignoring the realities that shape a life? Her life does not offer easy answers, but it does offer truth, a truth recognizable across cultures and generations. It speaks to anyone who has ever loved deeply, acted impulsively or faced the long-lasting consequences of a choice made in youth. Her story reminds us that love, while beautiful, must walk hand in hand with wisdom. And so, as we bring this exploration to a close, we remember Mahbubeh as a deeply human figure, spirited, brave, flawed, searching. She followed her heart, endured the consequences, and eventually found a measure of peace, though not without cost. Her life teaches us that while passion may illuminate the night, the morning after always arrives, bringing clarity, lessons, and the slow, steady work of rebuilding. Thank you for joining me on this journey into Bamdad-e Khomar. May this story inspire you to reflect on the balance between emotion and reason, and to carry its lessons gently into your own life. Until next time, keep reading, reflecting, and remembering that every story, whether joyful or tragic, carries lessons we can carry into our own lives.